Welcome back, you guys.
This is Mom's the Word.
Where mom knows best.
Or at least she's trying her best.
I'm Paige.
And I'm Cindy.
And this is Jay. We have a very special guest today.
And I was going to just saying, like, and dads also know best.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, we do.
Trying their best, at least.
Yes, of course.
So this is Jay, DADDYJAI09 on all social media platforms. You guys want to follow him. We're very excited that you're here today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
How are you doing?
A little nervous.
A little nervous.
Like, ooh, I need to, shake it off a little.
Exactly. This is comfortable.
Good. We're comfortable, so
Exactly. I'm loving the pajamas, by the way.
Purple's my favorite color, so I was like, okay.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Do you get the vibe that purple is Cindy's favorite color?
No, but there's purple people. There's people who wear purple, like their personality is purple, everything is purple.
What would Paige be?
What?
Pink.
Pink. I'm pink.
She told me that I'm a purple person.
I think because I'm so pink. Like, I know that, and she said this, I know that you would choose pink if given the option, but she said when I'm around you, I would pick purple.
Okay.
And this is the most random conversation, obviously, but in case you were wondering, I'm a pink person, and she's purple.
We're purple. Twinsies.
Twinning. I love it.
So I'm so excited for Jay to be here. I've met Jay through social media.
I never have.
Yes.
Oh,
This is our first conversation.
Yes.
So Jay was a foster parent, and he's now an adoptive daddy. It's two of them.
Daddy.
So Jay, can you give us a little bit of who you are?
Well, I'll tell you like I do all my lives. 2 daddies, 5 kids, and we're a family of 7. So yeah, so I started fostering in 2019. And prior to that, we didn't have kids. It was just Kyler and I living, just life, I guess, with no kids. And one day we had talked about fostering for quite some time, and we kept putting it off. We had called agencies, put it off. And one day we were just sitting there. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And I was like, go get your laptop, I'll get mine. And we started filling out all the paperwork. And we didn't go to bed until everything was submitted. And then from there, within 3 months, we were licensed. And then as soon as we got licensed, not even 3 days later, we got a call. And we had 2 kids. So we went from 0 to 2 kids in 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks later, had 2 more. So we went from, in less than a month, from 0 kids to 4 kids. And it was wild.
I was going to say, how was that on your relationship being,
we had never been dads before, right? Why I tell people, I've been a daddy all my life, but
hey.
So I've been a dad my whole life, but
It's
but
different.
to children, it's completely different.
Yeah.
And so obviously as a parent, all you know is how you were taught from your parents. So then it's like, there's some things I need to change in there.
Yeah.
I felt that way. Cindy doesn't. Cindy feels like she's had a great experience with her
That's
parents.
amazing.
I did. How is that, sweetie? How did that feel? It must be nice.
Right.
I'm very thankful. But even as he
so
was saying,
cute.
though, there's things my parents did that I'm like, okay, I have to do a little bit differently. I was raised very well, but there's things you have to change, right? Especially because you're taking on all these children. And 2 daddies, you guys have a lot of eyes on you.
Oh, man. I bet.
What does that feel like?
So honestly, we haven't really encountered a lot as dads. I mean, people are usually very kind. Now in my lives, it's a whole different story. We get a little bit of everything. But I always say, like on social media, I think we'd get 98% love. So I will settle for 98 if only 2% are haters,
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's been really great. We haven't really run into it. We just had, one instance where we were trying to get licensed for overcapacity. So as foster parents in Texas, we could only have 6 kids. And I had 5, and they called me that there was a prior placement and asking if we would adopt. And they were my first placement ever. And I said, of course. And so I said, but how do we do that? Because we have 5 kids, that would put us at 7. And so I called agencies around, and the agency said, oh, you're a same-sex couple, we don't license y'all.
Oh, wow.
We do license for overcapacity, but because you're same sex, we won't. And so that was like the first taste that we've ever had as like discrimination for being 2 dads.
Yeah.
But I think that things happen for a reason. And so we didn't end up adopting those kids because of the timeline. They wanted us to be licensed by the end of October of last year. And it was going to take us quite a bit to find an agency and go through that. And so unfortunately we didn't get chosen, which, broke my heart. But all I can do is, just pray and hope that wherever they are, they're well taken care of, they're loved.
That's right.
And so, but that was the first time that we ran into something where it specifically targeted Kyler and I.
Yeah.
How many kids have you had in your home?
We've had 21 kids since 2019
crazy.
throughout this whole time. So that means, obviously I have 5 kids. So 16 of them have gone either back home, they've been reunified, which is amazing. That's the goal of foster care. Or they've gone to kinship, or they've gone to other homes where they were adopted. And so
That's amazing. Literally amazing.
That's a lot of kids.
Yeah. So it's funny because at our agency, they used to call us the two dads who never say no. Because anytime they would call us for a placement, I would say yes. Even if it was for respite, just for 2 days, 24 hours, 3 days, we always said yes. And so that's what they refer to as the two gay guys who never say no.
Did you always know you wanted to be a dad?
I did. Ever since I was young. It's so funny because ever since I was young, I said, I'm going to have a daughter. And I'm going to name her Thalia after the Mexican singer. And I have a daughter named Thalia now. And it's just so crazy. I do believe like in positive affirmations and speaking what you want.
Absolutely.
And so it's so surreal sometimes when I'm listening to Thalia or watching her novelas. And then I look at Thalia and I'm like, oh. And so I say Thalia is my daughter's godmother. She doesn't know yet, but hopefully she'll find out.
I love that. Right now,
if you're listening.
Yes, Thalia.
If you're your biggest fan.
Yeah.
So you always wanted children, but did Kyler always want children?
Kyler's wanted kids as well. So before we moved to Lubbock, we lived in Phoenix, and we had a brief hiatus for 3 months where we left each other.
The drama.
Yeah.
Mysterious. Gay people never do that.
Right? No, never.
We broke up and got engaged.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got married 2 weeks later. Imagine. Yeah, after we got together, he showed up with the U-Haul. I'm just kidding.
That is exactly what happened. So I need you to understand.
Paige was married to a woman.
I was.
This is very.
Who showed up with the U-Haul? You or her?
Oh, I guess technically me.
Oh, she jumped in full.
Well, I mean, okay, listen, I didn't have a home to go home to because I was, out at that point. My parents were like, no, and I hate to say that because then I'm gonna get a phone call from my dad and he's gonna be like, that's not what I said. But
you remember those feelings.
It's kind of what you said. So I mean, so I didn't. So I guess kind of me because I moved in straight out of the army. I moved into
Army.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's where we met.
Oh my
G.I.
goodness.
Jane.
I cannot. So was it you or Kyler who brought the U-Haul?
Kyler did.
He said that 3 months was it.
So, so we ended up getting back together after those 3 months, and he knew I wanted kids at that point.
Yeah.
I had a boss who was fostering. She had adopted as well. And so I was like, I really feel like I want to do this. And he was like, if we're going to get back together, that's a deal breaker. No kids. That's a deal breaker. And I was like, I can convince him later. So I'm going to say yes right now. Oh, we don't want kids. We're not going to get kids. And then I'll convince him later, like, just sweet talk him a little.
Oh my
goodness.
goodness.
Then we'll do it. And so we ended up moving to Lubbock, well, not here, but we ended up moving to Lubbock, Texas. And like I said, we got information, and then a couple of months later, we finally decided to do it. And so within a month, from 0 kids to 4 kids, it was insane. I mean, it was crazy. Like nothing prepares you for that, honestly.
I don't think people realize that. So like for me, I had a child already, so I knew exactly what it was going to be like. But for 2 dads to just have newborn babies and toddlers and teenagers, because you've had all ages, show up at your house, that had to have been very interesting. Did your relationship stay strong during that?
So in the beginning, we were so overwhelmed. Like imagine, we had to literally switch cars. So I had like a Jeep. I had like a 4-door Jeep. I don't even know what type of Jeep it was. And so at that point, we switched to a bigger car that I thought was bigger, and it was a Telluride. So I got a Telluride. They just came out, and I was like, we're driving home, and I was like, oh my God, it feels like we're driving a bus. Not even a year later, we switched that car in for an Expedition Max.
Literally, bigger.
Because there was no space for strollers. I mean, we had 5 kids.
Wagons.
We have like a huge wagon. And so it was crazy. And so we had to switch cars 3 times. I told Kyler, like, next is a Sprinter van. I told Kyler, I want a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van, all black. He can drive. I can sit in the back watching TV.
I literally would love that.
I don't like to drive, so.
I don't either. No. Cindy, do I drive?
No.
I do not.
I hardly ever drive.
I had a friend call me.
We all make our husbands drive.
Literally. I had a friend call me like 2 weeks ago, and she was like, wow, you've been so busy. You went to the Arboretum and to the football game? And I was like, yeah, girl, worst weekend of my life. I had to be in the car so much. So, no, I don't like
mind
it.
Getting there. I just don't want to drive either.
I feel like I would have thrived in the olden days where like they took the horse and carriage.
Yes.
I would have been one of them.
I'm ready to level up where I'll have a driver.
Oh.
And that way they can open the door for me.
Back.
I can sit back. And
I wish that I could be, but I get so car sick if I sit in the back.
You?
Oh yeah, baby's
You
puking.
need a pill of Imodium. If you're a parent, you have to keep those in the car.
Don't those make you poop?
No, is it Imodium?
No.
Wait, no, what is it called?
I would say, doesn't that just make you just...
Not Imodium. Yeah, don't do that. Don't drink that.
That is the wrong advice, everybody.
Jeez,
well, yeah, I did say, sometimes they have it figured out and sometimes don't. This is that part. I forgot what is the pill, but I had to pull over and get one for Grayson. Dramamine. Yes, I had to pull over because we ran out. And he was on his iPad. And, if you're in the iPad and you're driving, like, it can do that. So I had to pull over at a gas station and get him some so he could stop throwing up in my car. I was like, oh, lovely.
That's crazy. So you were a foster parent for a while, but now you are an adoptive parent. So 5 kids. I know you guys have heard that. 2 daddies, 5 kids. But I just think he's amazing because he had... So right now he has 5 kids, 6 years old and under. So at one time you had 3-year-old, 5 kids, 3 and under.
Yeah.
That blows my mind. Okay, guys, I can handle 4 kids, but I'm like
3 and under,
and 2 of the same age, 2 newborn babies.
Bless it.
Yeah, he has 2 2-year-olds.
Yeah.
So
and it's interesting because we got a lot of newborn babies. Like we've done all ages. We really haven't parameters. It was just whatever they called us for.
Right.
But from the beginning of us starting to foster, I think, we had those 4 kids and then we had a newborn and then another newborn and then another newborn. Because, kids will rotate quite a bit if they're being reunified, which is great, or if they're going to kinship or they're adopted. And so we always had a newborn. And so it's interesting because as moms, right, as parents, you have that newborn stage and then they grow up and you're like, perfect, I'm not tired 24/7. I felt like we had newborns for like a year straight and I was like exhausted.
Relatable.
It was like to the point where sometimes I would be so overwhelmed that I would be like, Kyler, wake up.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do this anymore. I need to walk away. Please.
The overstimulated.
Yes. And so we did that a lot. I was like, if you get to a point where you just can't do it anymore, wake me up.
You have to tap out.
And I'll tap back in. And that way we can do that. And that's good if you have a partner. Imagine like if you're a single mom and you're not able to do that. Like,
that's why I always tell people, like, I'm really, like, if you're going to go into foster care, you both need to be 100%. And that was a great example of that because you've had back-to-back newborns. You can't handle all of that by yourself. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to get overwhelmed. It's going to happen. Yeah. But having someone to lean on and pick up those pieces helps a whole lot. And it seems like Kyler is just a great dad. We all see him.
Kyler is like the nicest ever. Like, I swear I love Kyler. Like, he took me at a place where I was like at the worst depression. I was like 400 pounds. And I was like depressed. I didn't go out a lot. I literally just stayed home and ate. Is literally all I did. And he took me from a place of like feeling confident. Like I was still 400 pounds, but I was like dressing up and I was getting ready and we were going out and doing stuff, taking pictures, which I hadn't taken pictures like in 2 years. And literally, like, Kyler knows everything, like the deepest, darkest secrets. Aww. And he still stays, which is amazing. Yeah. So it is nice when you have that unconditional love and support who will guide you through everything. And so we really are, like, pretty much in sync. We work together. So we both work from home. We both work at the same company. We're both supervisors. And our desks are literally this close. So we are together 24/7. The only time we're not together is when he takes the kids to school or we go grocery shopping.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Alone. But other than that, we're always together. The kids are always with us because we don't have a nanny. Like, we watch the kids while we work. And so we're always together and it works for us. Some people are like, I could never do that. And I was like, well, I can. Everyone's family is completely different. And everybody's vibe. So,
I love that.
And are all of your children adopted?
All of my kids are. So we adopted Thalia in 2022, and we had her since she was 5 days old.
Oh, wow.
And then we adopted her in January of 2022. And then my siblings, I have I have 5 kids, so that's Thalia. So my other 4 are brothers and sisters. They're blood related.
A big sibling group, which is rare to find a family who can take 4 children. So another amazing thing Jay did.
Were they all placed in your home as well? Because I know that Cindy's had a placement before where they had siblings, but they were split.
Right, because I only take 3 children, and so if my house is full, I can't take. So they'll split sibling groups sometimes.
2. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because most of the time with sibling groups, they're going to be split up because the likelihood of a foster home having placement for 2, 3, 4, 5 kids is quite a lot.
Yes.
When we first started fostering, we were looking at a gallery that they have on Texas where you can see the children that are waited to be adopted. And I saw a sibling group of 4 and 5, and I told Kyler, I could never do 4 kids. I wanted 2. Kyler had 4, and then we ended up with 5. I don't know how that works. I don't know what kind, is that girl
they
math,
didn't say
dad
no.
math? I don't know what kind of math that is, but you
that's
know.
Foster care math. You keep saying yes.
Yes.
Because you just keep saying yes. Like, oh, I can handle it. I can handle it.
Yeah. And I really tell people, once you have like 3 and 1 added, it just goes with the schedule.
I do agree with that.
We're very scheduled. We're very routine. If it's not, I tell people, if it's not on the calendar, it's not going to happen. And Kyler knows that. He'll be like, oh, let's do this. I'm like, I don't see it on the calendar, boo. Try next week.
So your sibling group before didn't all come together.
No.
So can you explain that?
So Amor and Ari were my second placement. So I already had 2 kids, and then Amor and Ari came. And at the time, we were new foster parents. And so Grayson went to another foster home. And it wasn't until about maybe a year later that, the goal is reunification. But unfortunately, sometimes long-term care is needed. And so the goal was starting to switch to unrelated adoption because they weren't able to be reunified. There was no kinship family.
Right.
And so they were like, would you be interested in adopting? And I didn't even let them finish. I'm like, absolutely. I've seen him at the office every day when we go visit. And I was like, and of course. And so 3 months later, he was placed in our home. And honestly, it was so organic. Like it just flew. He fit right in. I think that he loved being with the siblings, of course, you know, like, and we just connected immediately. And then Kingston was born a week later. And he was placed in our home. So literally they came a week apart. And so that's how we went back up. At the time we had 6 kids.
Oh my goodness.
So people ask me that. So like you had siblings in care, mom had a baby, and they got offered to you right away, correct? Because you're the active foster parent in their life. So that's how you got Kingston.
Yes.
Which made you a family of 6.
Yeah, so we were a family of 8 for quite some time. We had, I can say her name because her mom gives me permission, but Mia, we had Mia at the time, and she was in the process of being reunified. Her mom did amazing. I was so proud of her. She literally, you know, the state said do XYZ. She did XYZ and more. And really, Mia's mom was the first time that we actually built a relationship with any of the parents, because we were always so scared. Like, don't talk to them, don't see them. When you're in the office, you come through the back.
Yeah, that's what they tell you.
And they come through the front. And I was like, okay. And so we started building a relationship, and I gave her my number, and we were texting, and she was like, hey, Mia's birthday's coming up. And I was like, you know what, let's do a joint birthday.
Yeah.
And so we went to CC's Pizza. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous. I had never met her, just at the office, like, hello, really quick. And it was amazing. It kind of opened my eyes. I'm like, okay, like, I don't know why they paint it so scary. Like, we can build a relationship with these parents. Like, you
sometimes
know?
I feel like they have to, though, because there are circumstances that are terrifying.
Yes, yeah.
But they try to protect us. But I agree. And it takes you to put the ball down, because they will not. They won't. CPS will, they try to protect everybody, and it's up to you to bring them into your lives.
Yeah, and I told my caseworker, I was like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, I gave her my number, and we're going to plan a birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese. And she's like, listen, obviously you're licensed, we trust you. If you want to go, just go. If you think it's a safe environment, continue. If it's unsafe, you would leave. I was like, that's exactly what I would do with anybody. You know, like, if it's an unsafe environment, stage left. Same thing with them. And it actually was great. I still talk to her to this day. This morning she sent me a picture of Mia for school.
I love that.
And so, like, it's honestly amazing. And so that kind of is where I started opening my eyes to building the relationship with my kids' parents.
Yes.
So yeah.
Do you feel like it's benefited you in your journey to have that relationship with them, or at least benefited them to help?
I think it has, because if you think about it, as a foster parent, you know, you want to support that relationship. Like, the goal of foster care is for them to be reunified with their family. And so there's nothing better than when the child kind of sees everybody together and, like, kind of supports. I remember I invited Mia's mom to the school, and we did an assembly together. It was like a words assembly, and her mom went. We were all there. We took a picture, and so it was lovely. So I think that the kids really love that. And you know, we built a relationship where she would FaceTime me all the time to say goodnight to Mia and all of that. And so it was really great.
That is
awesome.
really wonderful.
So you had spoken that, you know, as a child, there were some things that you wanted to change as a parent for your children. Could you share a little more about that? Because generational trauma continues on for a long time, and you have to break it
for generations.
Yeah, whatever you're comfortable with. What are some things that you think you might have to change or want to change? So
I mentioned earlier that I used to weigh 400 pounds, and so definitely my weight. I think that as a child, I really wasn't taught how important what you put in your body is, right? And so I really wasn't taught healthy food, healthy cooking, and the goal of balancing everything out. And so, like, I cook on my lives, and I try to do healthy meals that the kids will kind of learn to sneak in vegetables. So that's like a good part, because it's really hard to get kids to eat vegetables, and people always say, how do you get your kids to eat vegetables? Like, you just had to let them try it and kind of do it. And speaking about generational trauma, so, like, in Mexican households, it's very common that you have to eat all your food. Eat all your food, and if you don't, you're in trouble. And it's like, so at our house, when I started as a foster parent, I would serve them big portions, and then I was so upset that they're not eating. I'm like, eat your food, you're wasting money, right? And then my mom's like, well, why are you serving them such big portions? I'm like, oh, look who learned. I said, because you used to give me big portions.
And you got to eat it all. Sit there and eat it.
Oh, okay, girl. So you used to give me huge portions, and I had to eat everything. But okay, wow, progress. And so, you know, that's one of the things is I serve them small portions. You can serve them more.
Yes.
Right? You can't take it away because you're going to be upset. And then I try to sneak in vegetables. And so I'm trying to teach them how to cook, because that's a life skill that's super important for everybody to learn. And I want them to learn how to cook. So that's a skill. So that way they're not easily impressed by somebody's son or daughter. Like, oh, I made you a
Period.
frozen
Grilled
pizza.
cheese.
It's like, my dad makes lamb for me. You know?
Yeah.
But you know, so I'm trying to do that is get them to learn how to cook, eat healthy, and the importance of exercise. And so Kyler and I have been, you know, really trying to focus on our weight, and so exercising with them and teaching them the importance of that. So that's one of those.
Yeah.
And then I think that the one most important is your voice, the power of your voice. The voice. It's like, you know, in our household, if you spoke back, it was like you were being. You weren't listening. You were a bad kid.
Yeah.
If you talk back, it's my house, my rules. And it's like, sometimes I didn't even want to change the outcome. I knew the outcome wasn't going to change, but I wanted to at least say what was the deal, right? Like, sometimes you got in trouble and it wasn't even that. And it's like, wait, like, can I at least tell you my story? And I was like, no. And so for me, my mom made a funny comment, like maybe 3 months ago. She's like, but you always spoke back. I said, no. I said, at what point was it that you finally heard me or my dad? I was yelling at the top of my lungs. My brother and my sister never said anything. I was the wild child.
Me too.
I know it looks different, but I was the wild child.
Me too.
And so I was like, I would be yelling at the top of my lungs, and I said, but you weren't hearing me. So you know, I always tell people, listen to understand or listen to respond.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of people listen to respond, and trust me, it's very hard. It's something that you have to try every day. But I want my children to know that they have a voice, that we can talk, and I'm going to listen. It might not change the outcome, but I'm going to listen to what it is. And it's so important for kids to know, and any child needs to learn that their parents are a safe space, that they can be heard and loved no matter what.
Yes.
And so those are the two, I would say, major things that I really want to break and instill in my kids, because it's very hard.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I love that, like, you're letting them have their voice, because sometimes as parents, we're getting frustrated that they're talking back to us when really they're just voicing their opinion. Your child's allowed to be mad. Your child's allowed to be grumpy. They're allowed to have bad days.
They have emotions.
And just because you think that they should be the same way every day, that's not how it's going to be. We all wake up grumpy. I get mad. They get mad. So sometimes even if, you know, we're disciplining, let's say, and they're upset that they have to go do this thing, that's okay. It's okay to be upset and feel that way and voice that. So I love that.
Still gonna do it.
It's super important to teach that communication, because there's adults running around in the world who don't know how to communicate, don't know how to regulate their feelings. And that starts from childhood. And so it's super important to teach them, like, how to regulate their emotions, how to guide them through. So I always tell people, get on their eye levels, look at them in their eye, have them calm down. We do a breathing exercise where you're supposed to pass your finger like this and take.
I love that.
And I had a child experiencing foster care who's in our home, and the therapist thought that. So we do that with all the kids. And sometimes when Kyler's mad at me, I'm like, ooh, let's start doing the little
breathing exercises.
The technique.
Yeah, because it's super important. And I think that society wants children to be listened, to be quiet, no tantrums or anything like that. And it's like, there's adults out here in the world who can't regulate their feelings and who are yelling, but yet we're telling a 2-year-old that they're not allowed to do that. It makes no sense. It's like, be fucking for real.
Exactly.
Be for real.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
So are you still open to more foster care, or are you guys closed off?
Right. So right now we're closed off. So when we adopted the sibling group, we adopted them in January of 2023.
Okay. Recent.
Yeah. And so people always think like, oh, so you haven't had them that long. And I'm like, oh, technically it took like almost 3 years to get to that point.
Long time.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we adopted in January of 2023. And it was just a very stressful time that we were going through, just personally and everything. And so I told Kyla, I said, you know, let's close our home for a second. Like, I need to regroup. As a parent, it's important to know when your cup is full.
Absolutely.
Right? Because you're pouring into your kids, and you have to be very clear. Like, if you're overwhelmed, you're super stressed, you don't know what's going on, you're going to start lashing out on the kids. Like, I've done that where you lash out on your kids, and then you try to sit back and you're like, what was the reason? Like, they spilled some milk. It's like, was it that serious? No, you're really upset is that you have 10 appointments. You didn't sleep 5 hours. And you still have all these things to do, and life is just crazy. And so it's like, I have to step back a little bit and clean what I have first, and then I can take more on. And so we were closed. We're not taking any foster placements. So it's just my kids. And then we decided to move. And so when a child comes into care, they're usually in your home for at least a year or longer.
Yes.
And I would hate, you know, every time a child in foster care is moved from home to home, it's just very traumatic for them. And so I told Kyla, I'm like, we technically are ready. Like, our plate is good. We can handle some more, or at least one more. I'm like, but I don't want them to come into our home, and then 9 months later when we move next year, for us to not have them move to a different home, and that would be horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, because it'd be really hard to tear them from the community they're in. Yeah. So something that, like, I feel is a sensitive subject on the internet, which you probably feel the same way, is adoption. You feel like eyes are on you.
Yes.
And I try to tell people, there's there's different types of adoption. This is through foster care.
Right.
Do you feel that you've had to, you know, you're very respectful. I can tell you guys that Jay's so respectful of the biological family, whatnot. Have you felt like you've had to really listen to what other people are telling you about adoption? Like, what is your, you know, because you share your kids, and you're very proud of your family, and your family is beautiful. But has that been hard for you to do?
You know, it's interesting. And when I first started social media, it was really interesting. I did a lot of things that I don't do anymore. Like I used to do a house tour, and I'm like, I should have never done that. But I learned.
You learn.
And
we
so,
learn.
yeah, there was a lot of things. And so like before, like now when people are like, can I see your kids? I'm like, we don't do things on command.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if it happens naturally, and usually I'm cooking, if the kids come in the camera and I'm cooking, then sure, like let's do that. But if that, I don't do things unorganically. It has to be organically. And so that's what I do now. They're like, can I see your home? No. If I'm in the room, sure. You can see whatever's in the background, but
if
I'm
it's
not
natural.
going to. Yeah. Exactly.
But the content is you, not your children.
Yeah. They're just a part of you.
Obviously we started as foster parents when we were online, and we were sharing that, but at that point we wouldn't show the kids' faces because obviously they're not our children. We're not able to do that. And
the state makes that rule though, right?
So actually in the state of Texas, we are allowed to share them now. That is a law that's passed. They really push normalcy.
Yes.
And what that means is they want that child to have the most normal life. That is, you don't want them to be like, don't get in a picture or, you know, whatnot. So technically we can share them on like our personal Facebook pages and things like that. But because we each have a large following, we choose to not do so, and also respect the family and privacy and all of the things. The kids' privacy is the most important thing.
Yeah. Because that person, my thought in that sense is in a scenario that, like, say, there's somebody that I know, I don't know that they're going through something as dark as their child being in foster care. Yeah. Right. And then I see their child with a foster care creator that I happen to follow. Yeah. And then I'd be like, oh.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can put two and two together.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we really were respectful of that. We never posted the kids' faces unless we were doing like videos from behind. And then when I actually posted Talia's face was after her adoption.
Right.
You know, we had pictures, we did a little video. And then same thing with my sibling group. That's when they first, you know, saw my kids' faces. And it was amazing. But we've navigated through that. You know, when we first started fostering, I had a lot of insecurities of me as a dad. And so my mindset when adoption even came out is that I wanted a closed adoption. I didn't want to have an open adoption, which basically that means is like open adoption means that you are willing to have communication with the biological family. And in the beginning, I would say, no, I didn't want that at all. I didn't want that. But when I started to look inside, it was more insecurities of me versus insecurities of anything else. It's like, is my title going away as a dad if I have the biological mom or dad there? And so that was an insecurity of mine. And now when Grayson asked me, so do I have two daddies and a mom, right? Because he sees his mom, and I'll say, yes. I'm like, well, technically, you have three daddies and you have a mom.
That's right.
And before I could never say that, like it would upset me. And I had to figure out what the root cause of that was. And it was just insecurity of me is like, am I not important in his life? Am I not worthy?
Yeah.
And then when I realized that acknowledging the truth is not going to take away my title and the love that Grayson and I have for each other. And so my thought process of open adoption has completely changed. And so now I am all for open adoption. I always speak about it. I always tell people, like, if you're an adoptive parent, there's books. I have a lot of books on my Amazon where they talk about speaking to your children about
list some of your favorites.
About being, I don't know the names, don't put it on the spot.
Just kidding.
But there's books that talk about, you know, having two daddies, two mommies, how families look completely different. That's important. And then also I have some books talking about how they're adopted and about foster care to kind of give that information out and have them understand that. Because I listen to a lot of adoptees and I try to educate myself on trauma and how to deal with children who have experienced trauma. And so one of the things is that they said that they were lied to, that they didn't know that they were adopted. They didn't know what was happening, and their parents lied to them their whole lives.
It was so
and as
common.
parents,
it used to be so common.
Yeah, it was all hush hush.
Yeah, and as parents, we teach, oh, you can't lie, but I'm gonna lie to you
for your whole life.
White lies, you know. And so for me, we have those books, and so I'm gonna try to have those conversations earlier on, so that way they understand, and we see the kid's family.
Yes.
So we have an open adoption with both of our children, or with all 5 of our children, and they get to see their mom. The last time that we saw their mom was back in May for Grayson's graduation. She went with us.
I love that.
And it's not easy, guys. If you're an adoptive parent and you're thinking of opening it up at all, it's not easy and it takes a long time. It's like you're going to hang out with a stranger that you've never met.
Yes.
And
right?
you've heard a lot of dark things about.
Yes. And that's the other thing is like sometimes if you take those preconceived notions of someone, that can impact the relationship that you're trying to build with them. It's like, oh, I heard a lot of thoughts about that.
Yeah. And you do that with anybody.
Yes.
Yeah, not just them. Yeah. But I love that you do that. He shares openly about that. Jay is a really great role model with that because as foster parents and foster parents who are just starting out, it is intimidating to hear an open adoption for the next 18 years. Sounds very intimidating when you have to protect that child now. So I really respect you for that because it is, I haven't come to that yet, but that is something that's really amazing that you do.
Yeah. And it's interesting because for Grayson's graduation, I was like, do I invite the mom and the aunt? And I was like, but it's such a special moment for me. How am I going to feel? How is the vibe? But when I get down to it, it's like me.
It's about him.
Me. It's not child-centered. And so then I'm like, wait, let me scoot back a little, please.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, how is Grayson going to feel to see his two daddies and his mom together, united in a celebration? And I have a video where he like came out and his eyes just lit up when he saw us. And he was like... You know, and I knew what he was saying. It's like two daddies and a mom. And so his face lit up and I was like, you know what, at the end of the day, and it's not even just as adoptive parents. So say that you're separated from your husband or your spouse, right? And sometimes the issues of the parents can get in between and we're not being child-centered with our decisions.
We've talked about this. It's like you're co-parenting.
Yes,
and how foster parents are adoptive and foster parents could also be co-parenting.
Exactly. And so it can be challenging, but if you remove your own feelings and focus on the child, what's going to be best for them. So was it a little awkward when she walked up? And but as we are starting to build a friendship, it's getting easier and easier where it's now organic. We don't have to do like introductions like, hey, how are you? How have you been? She's like, how's the kids? And all that. And I share pictures with her. We text, and so I share pictures of the kids whenever she wants. And so it's really nice. We've actually hung out with the kids' aunt about a month ago. We went to the park. And so we went with their cousin and their baby brother. And so we went to the park. We did a little picnic. So I took some pizza. We took some snacks. I showed up with my dad bag real quick with everything we needed. She's like, what do we need? I was like, girl, this bag has everything in here. Like, we're
Mary
good.
Poppins bag.
Yeah. When you got a lot of kids, you know you got everything.
You have everything in there.
I literally have like 2 of everything. In my car, I have everything, like a medicine bag, a diaper bag, everything that stays in there. So that way, if I forget my bag, I got an extra bag.
I love it.
And so, we went out to the park with them, and it was just, it's just amazing to build that relationship. And it's not easy, but every relationship takes time. Like it's just like dating, except no reward at the end.
I appreciate you sharing all that. So we do have some questions from people who on our Instagram. If you guys are not following us on Instagram, please do. Mom's the word _ podcast. We always put our guests on there and do question and answers. We would love for you guys to go over there. We're almost to 5K. We're excited.
Almost.
That's amazing.
Okay. Here we go from Michael G. Fagan.
Oh, hey, Michael.
How do you balance your own needs with being needed as a parent and a husband?
Okay, so I think it's super important. Oh, I know, Michael. Okay. I think it's super important because I think that as parents, sometimes we just focus so much on the kids that we don't focus on our relationship, right? And even us individually. So I go get a massage like every week. Sometimes every every 2 weeks. I try to go get a massage. So, our kids go to bed at 8 o'clock. And so from 8 to 11, 8 to 12, right? We have a very regimented schedule.
Listen, you perfect people here.
We have a really good schedule where they go to bed at 8, and that is designed specifically for me and Kyler to have some alone time. Well, sometimes we're cleaning, sometimes we're showering. And
together.
I just think it's that we have a lot of kids, so you need to have a schedule.
It's super important to have a schedule when you have kids. And I'm telling you, our schedule every day is the same.
This one has been up my arse the last couple of weeks about me needing to schedule in some more.
Yes, anything
time
just
with
for
her
you
husband.
And for your husband.
Yes,
so Kyler and I
literally
do that.
told her that.
It's super important. So Kyler and I will do it. Like I'll be like, hey, I'm gonna put the kids down for bed. You go ahead and go get a massage.
I love that.
And then he'll go get a massage. And sometimes we have enough time where we both go on the same day. Or sometimes we'll do dates at home. Like the other day, I opened up a bottle of wine. I did a little charcuterie board. Kyler was laying in bed, and I take it to right. A charcuterie
I love a charcuterie.
I heard you did.
Oh my God.
Oh dear Jesus.
I did a couple.
But you know,
love it.
so I took it to him and I surprised him. We just literally watched a movie and had some nuts, salted nuts at that, and some fresh wine. And so
Okay, this sounded really dirty, but you guys, Jay
Yes.
has nuts on him.
yes,
Everywhere that he goes.
yeah,
He'll
literally.
be eating something in the corner.
Yes,
It's
yes.
nuts.
Yeah, I had weight loss surgery, so I have to have my little snacks.
Protein.
and-
Cannot.
yes, my protein. But yeah,
You
so
just really like nuts.
exactly. Yeah,
You
not
could
too
say
salty.
he's
though.
a nut connoisseur.
Oh, a meat connoisseur, you could say. But so you have to do date nights, like even if it's just on bed and with your partner, turn on a movie. Like
Yeah.
people think it has to be in a fancy restaurant. You have to do everything. No, literally, you can do it in your bed. You can do it, or you can do it outside, or whatever the case may be, right? Or sometimes we have like a huge bathtub, and so I'll do a little bathtub. I'll put roses,
Yes, I
candles,
love that.
and everything. And literally, we
Romance.
won't even be talking. He'll be on his phone. I'll be on my phone because we're
But
trying to
you're together.
unwind from the day, because you need to
Yeah.
unwind. Like I'll watch TikTok, or I'll just watch my telenovela, and Kylo will be watching his
Yeah.
little series, and we're in the same bathtub just together.
In the same
Yes,
bathtub.
it's a big bathtub.
Oh my God. I was like,
And
bed,
so
maybe?
we just hang out, drink some wine, and that is just a way to decompress. And so like me, my thing is to go out shopping. I love to go
Yeah.
shopping.
Ditto.
And so sometimes during the day, when I get off early and the kids are down for a nap and the other two are in school, I go shopping, and that releases me. But Kyla's like, don't be shopping too much.
Oh my gosh, this is me too.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm like showing up with bags and I'm like running to my closet so Kyla doesn't see me.
Mark
But
yesterday.
it's super important to make time for yourself, right? Getting a pedicure, a manicure, just laying in bed sometimes. Like I tell
Yeah.
people, turn on a podcast,
That's
put
what I
some
love to do.
essential oils,
That is me.
put a face mask, and just relax for 10, 15 minutes. Like it's so
Yeah.
important, because as parents, we pour into our children,
Yeah.
right?
All day.
And so if your cup is empty and you're like, oh my God, I need to pour into my child, and it's like, oh, there's nothing in there,
Yeah.
right? And speaking about pouring into your children, so same thing, like the power of your words and what you speak to your
Yes.
children, how you speak to your children is how they're going to speak to others, and they learn from our example, right? So if you're always constantly stressed, chaotic, and it's just neurotic in your house, then that's how your children will be like, oh my God, like it's a lot.
Yeah. I think like something you really touched on real quickly, I know it's going to go to the next question, but you said that like we put our kids down at 8 and it's not for the kids. It's for us to
Yeah.
have that like time. And so a lot of people are like, wow, your kids are all in bed by 7:30, 8 o'clock. And I'm like, well, yes, because I very much value my relationship with my husband. And if he's not getting 100% from me, then we're going to feel that. You're going to feel that
Yes.
strain in your marriage. And so it's important to find that balance. Now that could be 10 o'clock for you. Your kids go down, right? But that means you're going to bed later so you can spend time with your husband. And don't get me wrong, we're touched out. Like I'm with babies all day
100%.
long, but your spouse's touch is different. Okay. And sometimes that may, be meaning that you guys need to, just sit in a bath, like you said, a massage, or you need some other things going on, sister.
Yes.
That might
a
help.
little roll in the hay.
Yes, exactly. And it's like hard to sometimes say when we're all touched out, but sometimes it's very important
Yeah.
to have that connection.
It's healthy.
It's
It
very
is.
healthy. Yes.
So my mom and dad split up when I was in kindergarten, and they always fought when I was going to school. And it was my dad fighting with my mom. And so I really didn't go a lot to kindergarten, because he would always fight with my mom as I was leaving to go to school. And so I never went. We would go to her friends and I'd be crying. And so kids will see that. Kids will pick up on
Yes,
that.
and
And
they
so
will.
for me, when my parents divorced, I was relieved. And I never prayed for, I've heard that most children that their parents divorced pray for them to get back together. I never prayed. I was like, oh, no, thank you, Jesus. Like, we're
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
Hard for a kid to hear. Yeah.
So it is important to work on your relationship, because your kids will feel on that.
That's right.
If they feel love,
That's right.
if they see the love, they're going to feel the love.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, someone here says, Michelle One Vasquez says, a tip to have your patience.
A tip to have my patience. It takes a while. Like when I started fostering, my patience was very thin. It's just something that you have to learn every day. And I'm not patient 24/7. There's no way. And it's funny because my mom would say, you have to pray for patience. And I was like, praise Jesus, give me patience. But then I was like, oh my God, Mom, I'm going through so many things. And it's like, why is this happening? She's like, well, you asked God for patience. How did you think you were going to learn?
Yeah.
She's like, he's going to put situations in your life where you learn through patience. So I was like, okay, Jesus, I'm good right now. I'm very overwhelmed, Lord. I don't need no more patience. But I just try to do better every day. And so the one thing as a parent is if you do lose your patience, because if you think about it, it's never the child's fault. It's always, you're so overwhelmed, dinner's late, you have to put the kids to bed, you have so much going on, and then a kid drops a piece of cheese and you're like, why did you do that? And then you're like, oh crap, was I supposed to yell at him? Like, why did I do that? And it's like, it's because of me. So as parents, you can't be afraid to apologize.
Absolutely.
And so you have to say, hey, you know what? I am so sorry.
Yes.
I'm so sorry I spoke to you that way. I shouldn't have done that, because kids deserve that.
Yeah.
And so you just have to keep trying every day. And as parents, you have to immerse yourself in books, podcasts, things that will help you, surround you with people who will give you great
That's
trips.
what I was gonna say. Yes.
And as foster parents, we have to learn to be trauma informed, to deal with children who have trauma. And listen, I'm not a foster kid, and I have a lot of trauma. So everybody needs it.
Yes.
You know? So
Yes.
Okay, from Liz De Leon 832. How did you know you... Excuse me.
Reading is hard.
It is. I'm trying to put the words together. How did you know you were ready and making the right decision adopting your children?
Well, you know, the whole situation is a lot, right? So my Talia, I had her, you know, since she was 5 days old, right? And, you know, the goal of foster care is reunification. And it's unfortunate that sometimes children are not returning back home, right? That's the whole goal. And that they need long-term care. And at the point where they asked us, like, you know, we didn't go into it to adopt her. It was just, you know, another placement that came. She had been in her home. She was a year old already when they asked us. And so it's like, I've had you since literally 5 days old. So it was very easy for me to say yes, right? Like, we were literally the only home that she had ever been. We were who picked her up from the hospital. Like, so it really came easily to say yes, of course, like we wanted to, like we want to love her for the rest of her life, right? Any child that comes into our home, we're gonna love no matter how long, whether it's short term, long term, but it's very bittersweet. It's, you know, adoption is happiness and grief. Like it's a lot of emotions. When I was driving to both my adoption ceremonies, I remember I didn't breathe the whole time, and it was like 5 minutes. I was like I felt like I couldn't speak, and me and Kyler were just holding hands, and we were both crying, driving. And it was like so surreal. And it wasn't just me thinking about me. It was like thinking of my children, thinking about the family as well, because there's a sense of loss.
Yes.
And it's a lot, because just because I am happy to adopt my daughter does not negate the other feelings.
That's right.
Of the family, that there is a loss, right? And so I was feeling everything, and I was just very overwhelmed. You know, it was amazing, but at the same time, I thought to myself, you know, it's just so crazy. And for what my children have gone through in a short period of time, it's just, you know, interesting.
Yeah. And so what people, some in our state of Texas, there is no such thing as guardianship.
Exactly.
And so what that means is when they offer to the parents, because they do say, would you like to adopt this child? If you said no, they're going to find another home.
Exactly.
So that also makes that, you know, question really easy.
Yeah, I mean, you know, usually what happens is if the child is going to be placed up for care, they will contact the foster parent. And if the foster parent says, no, we're not an adoptive home, then the child would be broadcasted. So it means every foster parent can put in their home study, and maybe they're chosen. They'll pick top 3 family, and then finally one family is chosen. And so if we wouldn't say yes to the kids that are in our home, then yes, of course, somebody else would have adopted them. And so it was easier for us, you know, with Talia, which had been her whole life, our sibling group, almost 3 years it took to that point. And so, of course, we were going to say yes. And then they were a sibling group, and, you know, they had just been with us their whole life. So it was just very easy for us, you know.
Just felt natural.
Yes.
Okay, the next one is from Shelby_Birdie_. She says, what was the first thing that attracted you to Daddy Kyler? And by the way, she loves you so much.
Oh, I love you too. His booty. Well, in the beginning, his booty, because we met on Grindr, which is a gay dating app. Grindr, call me.
Trying to get a collab over here.
Let him tell his story.
I spoke earlier where Kyler took me out of a big depression. I had lost a first love, and I never thought that I would find love again. And that's why I was eating my feelings out. And I became a big hoe. And I did. And because I was like, I'm never going to find love again. Yeah. So why invest my time? So literally it was just games that I would play, and just what do you call it? Instant gratification, like just quick fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And Daddy Kyler came, and it's a big love story. But the second time he came, it just flew organically, like it just flowed organically, and he was like a lesbian. He showed up with the U-Haul, and next thing you know, we were living together. And Kyler has literally helped me out so much out of my depression, with finding love again. Like I remember he even made a comment in the beginning where he said, I didn't think we were going to go far because you told me you were never going to find love again.
Yeah.
We were in the pool. He painted it very clearly, and I said it unconsciously, right? Because where I felt in my life, I was like, I'm never going to find love again. So I told him that, and he's like, dang, that like really hurt. And so it's just so interesting how it happened. And literally he's helped me out through so much of my trauma, unresolved feelings that I've had. And Kyler's like amazing. Like we're completely opposite sometimes. And so I'm like chaotic. I need to be on a schedule, and Kyler's like easygoing and just go with the flow. And then I'm like running, hurry, we have to go. And he's like, why are you in a hurry? And I'm like, I don't know, but we have to go. Like, let's get this done. And he just calms me down. And so he's like, okay, you need to relax, smell the roses a little bit. And I'm like, okay, well, you learn from my scheduling a little bit. We'll help you get it together. And then me, I will learn to relax and enjoy the moment. And so Kyler just supports me 100% in every crazy thing that I have. And he just loves me for who I am, which is exactly what your partner's supposed to do.
Absolutely.
And I always tell people, your partner should not be your happiness. You should be happy within yourself, right? Like, so I've discovered that at being 400 pounds, I wasn't happy with myself. So I've worked on that. So I'm like, I have to be happy within myself, because in my relationship, we had a lot of fights because I wasn't happy with myself. It was affecting our sex life. It was affecting our normal life, because I was so not happy with myself. So then I started working on myself because it was impacting our relationship. And so then once that, I was like, okay, I'm happy within myself, and your partner should add more happiness, add value to it. And that's what Kyler does. And
I
so
love that so much.
That's wonderful.
I love you.
Yes.
Okay, last question.
Alrighty.
From Gabby Dollas.
Oh,
Gabby
DX
Dollas. Gabby Dollas.
yeah.
What is the best piece of advice you'd give a first-time parent?
A first-time parent. I would say to be kind to yourself. And just in general, you have to be really kind to yourself. We have these high expectations, and we think that we have to be perfect in life, and you really don't have to be perfect. You just have to learn from your mistakes and keep it going, right? So as a parent early on, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. Me and Kyler made a lot of mistakes, and we were learning as we were going. I mean, 0 to 4, like it was a shock. And so you really have to be kind to yourself, not be afraid to apologize to the child.
Yes.
Apologize to your partner, right? Because sometimes, something will happen, and I'll snap on Kyler, and because I just walked into the room, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so overwhelmed that I'm taking it out on our child. I'm taking it out on you. So just be kind to yourself, apologize when needed, and just surround yourself with friends who are going to love and support you, right? And that you can come to. So it's really nice to have parents who are, me and Cindy, we both foster together. And so we parent, and so I'm able to call her when I'm very stressed and, bounce things off of each other and just kind of vent a little bit.
Yes.
So it's so important to be kind to yourself, and don't be afraid to just ask for forgiveness and just learn from those situations. Like when something happens, but how can I do that better next time? And if you're kind to yourself as a parent and realize that nobody's perfect, I think it'll be great.
I'm glad that you touched on, like, you could call Cindy and talk to her and say things like that whenever you're stressed out, because I think that's so important that you have a friend that you can say safe things to in moments you're frustrated. Because I have said to Cindy before, I'm not a good mom. And I've just been like broken down crying and just being like, I can't do this. I'm overstimulated. I'm trying. I'm doing my best, and I'm falling apart every single day. And she doesn't say, you know what, maybe you're right. She goes, you are in your head. You are a good mom. And she validates me and allows me to say things that are hurtful to me, but still in the same space of not using it as judgment. She doesn't immediately turn it into, God, she's always crying and always feeling overwhelmed. Maybe she shouldn't have been a mom. It's more of validating, this shit is hard.
It is.
This is hard.
I just know, like, I've been there. Like, I get it. And when you're weak, someone else has to be a little bit stronger for you.
I hope you all have friends in your life that'll do that for you. That's my hope for every single person listening to this right now, is that somebody validates you in your life.
They'll make you videos that Paige was sad, and I said, I'm gonna make her a video.
She sent me freaking what's his name?
Mr. Rogers.
She sent me Mr. Rogers. I was like, you just set me up for a full blown sobbing
She makes
session.
me
good.
sad.
Sometimes-
I don't want to be
30
sad.
minutes.
You have to feel the emotions, right? Because it's like sometimes as children we were told not to cry or to act like you're strong, and it's like sometimes you have to go in the closet
And cry.
and cry. Don't be in the closet.
Big girls don't cry.
But you have to let out those emotions. So sometimes for me, I like to turn off the lights in my restroom. I turn on a candle and I put my sad music on,
Celine
hot
Dion.
music, and I just cry it out. I cry it out and I come back fresh. Nobody will know I was crying, but it just makes me feel better. So you have to find those ways to get out those emotions out to help it. And then it obviously it does help to have those supportive friends who will help you. You know, with Cyndi, we're foster parents, and so we can't share a lot of the information. And so when you're friends with someone who does something very similar to you, it provides an outlet where you're able to talk, and it's good because then they understand you. Because
and they understand the situations and how intense and scary they are. Because y'all deal with a lot of intense, scary things. Paperwork, caseworkers, people at your house, going to court cases, doctor's visits, trauma. There is just so much that you guys are dealing with as foster parents.
And finding someone who validates your feelings is so helpful.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
I would feel so alone.
That's my thought here too, is like you went from 0 to 4, which is mind blowing to me. But like you went from not being a parent to being a parent of 4. And I know that going from not being a parent to being a parent of 1 newborn was very taxing on my mental health and on like who I was. Was it hard for you to adjust? Did you find yourself like Googling a lot of like how much can a baby take of this? Like, did you do parenting classes? Did you have friends that were moms? How did you learn? Because I was up on Google at 2 a.m. with a boob in a kid's mouth trying to figure out, you know.
So
to this day, I still am.
To this day.
I got a lot of kids.
I called my mom a lot. Right, like my mom is my best friend, like my biggest supporter, and so I call her a lot for advice. And we would Google a lot. Like we just called our family, like we have our village, you know, we have our people, our trusted people that we can talk with, like, hey, tell me about something. On the way here, I was asking Cyndi about something about my daughters, right? And so like I had a foster daughter, I had a daughter who was experiencing foster care, and we had to go buy her some supplies at Walmart. So we're getting everything. I don't know nothing about
Feminine
pads.
supplies, right?
I don't know a lot about vagina.
Yes.
I've encountered a couple, but not a lot. And so
Now expert over here.
And it's different
so
as a dad. So
and I didn't know, and so I was like, I don't have to know. That's why I have a village. And I called my friend, I called my sister, and I was like, hey, what kind do I get? Like, there's so many sizes here. Like, I don't know. And so, you know, as dads, we're gonna run into that where we might need help, right? Because they're like, well, you don't have a mom's, or who's the mom, which is very ignorant when people say, oh, you're 2 daddies, so which one of you is the mom? And it's like, oh, let me just clarify. It's 2 dads. We're both men and we're both dads. And so like sometimes I'll be cooking. And they're like, oh, you must be the mom because you cook all the time. And
You're
it's
the
like,
wife.
so are you trying to say that women are, the kitchen is only a place for women and only women can cook and men cannot? I'm like, because men and women can do anything that they want, and women can do a job that a man can do, and a man can do a woman's job. And so I always try to shut that down. Because
so
it's
rude.
Like, exactly. And so I always tell people, we're 2 daddies. We're not that. And so if we ever run into those situations, it's okay. So my daughter had a ballet recital, and the studio only allows women in the back to get them ready, and which is understandable because there's a lot of little girls getting changed. And I didn't take it offensively. Like, you could tell she was nervous to come tell me, and I said, it's okay. We have grandmas, we have aunts, we have everything. So I called Grandma Terry and I said, hey, can you step in? And actually it was good for me because then I don't have to, I'm so stressed out. So I was like, oh my God, how's my daughter going to do? That she was able to kind of go do all that. And then I can just sit back, record, and be like, you know, the mom on Mean Girls, which is like recording, like the stage mom. That's what I was able to do. And so you just have to have
great,
that, that village. And so that's what just helps us.
I love that.
Very nice.
I really appreciate you sharing with us, Jay.
Thank you.
As you know, foster adoptive parents, that's being very vulnerable, sharing these things, and what you're sharing is just enough. And thank you very much for that. Because it's a lot to share these types of intimate things about our lives.
Absolutely.
So.
But I think it's important because sometimes people, you know, like we talk about our village, some people don't have villages.
They don't.
I speak a lot about chosen family, which basically is, you know, people that you choose in your life to be a part of your family. And it's not that you're blood related, right? You're choosing people who love and support you for who you are 100%. And sometimes family is not blood, right? And so as a gay person myself, I've had to have my own chosen family because some of my family didn't accept me for who I was.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I have to go out there and make the family that I want. So now I have that family, right? And then I have my family members or my chosen family who's my support system. And so, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, this is so good.
I'm so nice. It was nice meeting
Thank you. Yes.
So happy.
Mine and Jay's first conversation.
I was like, you're going to love Jay. Like, Jay's just so
I'm
easy
obsessed.
to like. He's so easy to love.
Listen, I was sitting here and the whole time I'm like, I think I'm going to the fair. I know. Like, I think I got to go hang out with you a little bit.
He's just a good person. Like, you know, we bring people around our children. Yeah, we are on, high alert. And Jay has always been welcoming. He helps with the kids, and it's just been amazing. So we've been so thankful to have you here today.
So sweet. I
Thanks for coming on our podcast.
Yes, thank you. I was like, oh my God, I get to meet these two celebrities.
Stop. Oh my goodness.
No, it's interesting is obviously I was like, oh, not the Hoffer. When me and Cyndi first met back in February this year, I was like, oh my God, she's a big creator. I had 5,000 followers at the time. And we did a collaboration for Jambos. And I was so intimidated because I was the baby in the group. I only had 5,000 followers, and everybody, I think Ramsey had 20 at the time. Everybody was like millions. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. And I was so intimidated to go in there and say, oh my God, like, what am I going to bring to this? I can't bring the followers. I can't bring the views. And then I thought to myself, I'm really good with my management skills. I'm very good with administration, motivation. I can be the biggest cheerleader. I'm like, I might not bring the views, but I can bring the energy. I can bring the love. And, so I was like, let me just do it. And so when I met Cyndi, she wasn't that person where she thought she was all that.
No, she's not.
She was just very chill and relaxed. Most of all the creators, like, they were just very chill. I'm like, okay, let me relax a little bit.
We're humans.
We're just humans.
And that's what I tell people, because people will say, oh, Jay, I saw you at the store, but I was so embarrassed. Or I didn't know if you were going to say hi. I'm like, girl, I'm just a normal dad. I'm like at the grocery store. Like, if you see me, walk with me, girl, because I have a time crunch. But you can say hi. Like, keep walking.
Absolutely. We got places to be.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, just say hi. Like, we're just normal people trying to do the best that we can. And obviously, yes, we're on social media, but we share our lives to provide perspective to other people, because some people don't have villages. Some people don't have chosen family. And so it's good to be able to find yourself in other people, because representation matters. And so when you see that, it's important. And that's why, like, you don't see a lot of dads out there, 2 dads with 5 kids, or you don't see that, like, our family is just very unique.
Yes,
so,
it is.
That's why we do it.
Yes, I love that. And vulnerability is power.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
It is powerful. This was such a fun episode, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Jay, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Oh, as always, keep the giggles going.
And the love flowing. And until next time,
Mom knows best.
Or at least she's trying her best.
And Dad is too.
Dad is too.
He is.
Thanks so much, Jay. Mom's the Word podcast is recorded at the Museum of Neon Lights in Frisco, Texas.
It is a selfie studio open to the public.
Mention the podcast and you'll get an exclusive 10% off.